One of the next things I'm going to do is some carb mods to this MXZ 670. This one is a 96, and there's some changes in the carbs from the 96 to the 98 models, and this is the non-HO. If you have a 97, there's even some more drastic changes. So basically, the one on the right there, I think is my PTO carb versus my mag carb on the left. I've already done that guy, it's nice and clean, and new jets installed. This one here I'm going to do right now. Basically what it is we're going to install new needle jet, new main jet, and same pilot jet. If it comes out in bad condition like this one did, I'm going to replace it. And just do some new gaskets, new screws, get her all up and running. So this is from a 96, and it is the 224AA-2. The new one here is a 224AA-3. That's what you're going to get when you do this upgrade. These are no longer available from Skidoo or Mikuni. That's your part number right there for them. You can find them on eBay. I picked these up last year. The main difference you're going to find here is that's your 96 jetting, that's your 97 jetting, and that's your 98 jetting. So we've got some pretty big differences between the 97 and the 98. The 96 isn't all that different. We're going to just use the 290 that we already have in the mag and upgrade to the 310 in my case. But if you have a 97, you know, you're going up 20 points on the mag and 10 points on the PTO side. So those are the jets you'll need to do this. Your pilot jets remains the same at a 60, and your needles are the same as well. So to do this, you're going to need a new float bowl gasket, a couple new gaskets for under the needle and seat, new screws. Good idea to replace these. They are the ones that hold the float bowl on. They tend to get tore up pretty easily because people don't use the right type of screwdriver on them. So I'm going to replace those. One other mod I'm going to do, and this is actually going to cause me to do a oil pump delete, and we're going to have to go premix, is these shorter intake boots. So these guys here are going to bring our carb much closer to the crankcase. I'll show you a comparison at the end of the video here on the stock ones that come with the machine. The reason you're going to have to do an oil delete is you will have your oil pump like right here, and it will interfere with your carb boot, and I think even maybe the body of the carb when you do this mod, so you will have to go to premix when you do that. Okay, so what I've got, just a bowl here, got my Mikuni toolkit, another screwdriver I'm going to need, and I'm just going to start to disassemble this thing. So up top here, you can slide the throttle slide out, and that's going to get us our jet needle out as well. And in here we've just got a couple screws. These ones look pretty destroyed. Got them started, I'll take them out. This is going to take our jet needle out. We'll be able to clean that off and clean up in here as well. So just put all the parts in here, slide your jet needle up. And then you're going to have this little circlip on there. You're going to want to take that off. And also just note where it is. This one's right in the middle. This is where it's supposed to be. If you have it up higher or lower, it'll rich or lean the setting out. And I'm going to just set my throttle slide aside, and I'll clean that off later. You also want to inspect. Just make sure it's not too damaged up. I mean, right in here where the idle stop screw comes, it is. A few scratches on it, but nothing too bad. It's also imprinted on here what size it is. It's a 2.5, which is what it should be. You're also going to want to go ahead and inspect your needle. Just make sure it's straight and runs true. And again, you can double check that this is the correct one as well. It's printed right up on the top. These are no longer available. I'll flip my bowl over. And I mentioned the importance of using proper screwdriver. You got two Phillips there. You can see the one that's on the screwdriver here has a flat tip. This one here is more of a pointed tip. This is the correct one. You just want to go around, crack each one before you completely take them out. And you also might run into some fuel in here. So I'm going to put pressure on it just to alleviate any fuel spillage while this comes out, while the screws come out, and before I drop the bowl. There's a gasket in there, and it's usually stuck on. It should do it, but just to be sure, I'm going to leave some pressure there. Okay, I'm going to flip it over and just try and separate that. Okay, not too bad. I don't know if you can pick it up, but the fuel has definitely gone a little yellowish. definitely some varnish and definitely stinks. So this is something you want to do just as a regular maintenance on them, clean them up every year. You have to get a blade to get that gasket off of there. If you are running into problems, right now would be a good time to check your float height. You can check that, see what that is at, just so you can get an idea if you're going to need to adjust that. And then just check the overall condition of everything in there. Now this main jet is actually a 270, not a 290. So I'm going to have to replace that. So the 97 Carbs had that in it. The 96s were supposed to have a 290, but I guess they did not in this particular case. It's a good idea just to look through them, inspect them, just make sure that there are no blockages, because that'll just give us an idea as we go ahead and take things apart what we're dealing with here. Now we've got this pin that goes through here. It only goes in one way, so I'm just going to try and poke it out a little bit. So it's just separated that a bit. The easiest way is just with these like side cutters. You don't want to get in there where you damage it, you just kind of want to pry it and get it out. There we go. Generally, once you get it started, it's fairly easy. Get it off. And I'm going to remove a little clip here that's holding my little needle in there. You're going to want to check that for wear as well. And make sure it's got good spring action to it. Okay, I'll just disregard those. Okay, can also take out our idle screw here. Gonna clean that. And our air screw over here. Okay, and then lastly, we're gonna go ahead and remove our needle jet. Just a little slight pressure, we'll get that guy out. Now we're ready to clean out this carb. This is definitely one of my favorite carb cleaners. It's a very foaming type action, as you can kind of see. Oops, lost my spring from my idle screw, my idle air. So I'm just going to cover it, just fill this right up. Generally, you'll go through a can per carb. Got that full there. I'm going to go ahead and clean out all the passageways on here. The main one I'm really going to focus on is the pilot jet, which actually I think I forgot to take that out. So this one is damaged slightly there. I mean, I probably could reuse it. I'm going to replace it just for the cost of it. It's not near as bad as the other one I took out. The other one I took out I couldn't even use again. It was actually damaging the interior hole there where the fuel would pass through. So we'll clean that up. What I like to do with this is just fill it up so it's covering everything. The only thing it usually doesn't cover is your needle there. You can just kind of flip that around a few times, roll it around. You'll see where it's been covered and hasn't. And then when that's all done, I usually let that sit overnight. Anyway, as I was saying, this is the main hole I'm going to focus on. This is generally where you're going to get a lot of blockages. You have this hole right here, and then that hole right there. That's where the low speed or pilot jet's going to shoot fuel out. We just want to make sure we get a good constant stream out of each. I like to block one off, you know, alternating, and then shoot carb cleaner up through here. That's the only time I don't like this foaming one. I prefer just like a more of a liquid one, as I find that does a better job of that. So I'm going to go ahead, clean this thing up, clean my bowl up, put a new gasket in, and then get the new jets, put that on as well. I'm going to pull this guy off, replace this gasket under here, and put the new jets and new needle jet in as well. Okay, so I got everything reinstalled, checked my float height, that's all good. So these are just all the stock components that you would have used. So now I'm going to go ahead and install my new needle jet. So there's a keyway down there. Keyway here, you just got to line those two up and just make sure it's fully seated all the way in there. I'm just going to keep some pressure on it with my hand, or my finger I should say. Then we're going to put this washer in, and our new 290 jet in this case. Go ahead and tighten that down. Okay, next thing we'll do is we'll take our float bowl gasket, put that in. I've already replaced this one. Just double check everything before you seal it up, that you got everything in there properly, everything's secure, this pin's secure. But also, another thing to check is that these guys slide freely and there's no cracks or anything. If so, you'd have to replace them. Now on our screws, we're gonna have these retaining clips that will hold some of our overflow lines. So those ones there, they're actually gonna go on the smaller side, the engine side. And our blank ones are just gonna go on the airbox side. So just get each of these started. You don't want to tighten them down. You're going to want to tighten them in like a crisscross sequence just to get that gasket seated properly. And you want to make sure you get all the threads started before you get anything really tight. So once you get all that done, you can go ahead and reattach your overflow lines. Feed them through the little retaining clips here, and that's assuming they're good. If they are hard, you might actually have to replace those. Okay, and a trick you can do, if you put a couple zip ties here, that'll help retain those in there quite a bit better. Okay, so that carb's done. Just got to put our throttle slide in. Again, that's got a keyway to it. Just going to line that needle jet up, or the jet needle I should say. Okay, so that guy's all done. So now what I'm going to do is adjust my throttle stop, my idle air, just to factory settings for this Skidoo, and then go from there. So there you go. Those are two modded carbs now to accommodate these other mods that we're going to be doing, like the rotary valve, which I'm going to do next, the Y-pipe mod, and just a couple other small things. So those guys are ready to go. We're just going to set them aside. Good idea also to mark them. You can see an M on this one with a Sharpie, and I've got this one a P kind of just scratched in there to the casing, just so we know what's what, because they are staggered jetting. So make sure you check out the next video in the series here, and we're going to go ahead and get that all started. Might pull the engine out for that one, not too sure yet, may just do it in there, but either way, rotary valve upgrade is a huge one, definitely one you're going to want to take a look at.